Good morning to everyone. Today we have a special guest. I've been a subscriber on his YouTube channel for a few months now and enjoying his content. His YouTube channel is Blind Man Walking and he's based in Canada. Um, Welcome, John.
Thanks for inviting me on. This is going to be good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to get you on today, like I said, I've been sub to you for a few months, enjoyed your content. So just let everyone know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for having me. My name is John. Blind Man Walking is my YouTube handle. Um, I live in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Um, so pretty far away from Australia. Um, I am pretty much completely blind. I describe my vision as non-usable, so I can see light and dark, but I have no depth perception. I have no peripheral vision, so nothing really that I can benefit from having. I have a guide dog. I've had three. I'm on number three. He is a yellow Labrador. I graduated with him in 2017, and right now he is playing with one of our other dogs. So if you hear growling, that's just them playing. Yeah. Anyway, very experienced guide dog user. I've been blind since birth. I have a blind brother as well who is not a guide dog user, but he has also been blind from birth. He uses a cane. And we actually both live in Ottawa. We actually, as of last year, we live in the same apartment building. So it's nice to have a brother pretty close. And yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, so you've had three guide dogs. So what's the process of applying for a guide dog in Canada?
Yeah, so my guide dogs all come from the US, so I traveled to the US to get them. The process though is pretty similar no matter where you go. So after you apply, the guide dog school will review your application. They will typically send somebody out to interview you and just go on a little bit of a mobility outing with you. You need to show that you can be independent. A guide dog school is not going to give you a dog unless they know that you're going to use that dog the way it is meant to be used. So, and right now, my dog is bugging me. Yeah, so somebody will typically come out, they'll interview you, you'll go on a short walk with them so they can evaluate you and your independence. Uh, Assuming that goes well, they will accept you into the program, and then it's a waiting game for them to find you the right dog. So they try to match you with a dog that best suits your lifestyle, your personality. Some people have breed requests that they make as well. So they try to accommodate you as best they can. But end of the day, they're going to provide you with the best dog that they can to meet the needs that you have. And they go from there. So the process can take anywhere from 6 months to a year or more. I think it's probably more right now because of the backlog due to COVID. Um, but they try to make the process as quick as they can.
Right, here in Australia, I did have a guide dog for a short time. I gave him up because of health issues.
Mm.
Um, Very smart dog, brilliant dog. For me, the process was similar to yours. I applied, they come out and did the assessment, they matched me up with this great dog. Um, and that stage, I think it was like $30,000 to train the dog ready for the stage where he was given to someone to use as a guide dog. I think now it's $50,000 and another $30,000 over the period of of lifetime of training. So you're looking here in Australia, it's like an $80,000 dog.
Yeah, it is a lot of money, and here in Canada and in the US, I'm not sure about Australia. I assume it's the same. there is no government support. It's all private. It's all public fundraising and private donations, which is pretty sad. But that's the
Yeah,
way it is.
yeah.
I'm not.
We have Guide Dog Association here in Australia. Each state has their own branch, sort of thing,
Mm,
and they solely survived on donations from the public and businesses. But a few years ago, we have the NDIS was introduced, National Disability Insurance Scheme.
okay.
It's funded by the federal government, and what they do, they provide supports to people with disabilities. For example, if you're blind and wanting a guide dog, they would pay the guide dogs for that dog and for the training. So there's
Okay, cool.
no, yeah. So um, at this stage, I think the NDIS cost the Australian government about $30 billion to run it. So it's for right across the board for everyone with a disability. So if you have cerebral palsy or you'd use a wheelchair, um, blind, hearing impaired, whatever, everything's covered for you so long as you need it. So that's changed, over the last 5 or 6 years when the NDIS was brought in.
So the government does here in Canada, they do cover, like, depend if you need a specific mobility aid to help you with your independence. Depending on what you need, there is government funding to support support the purchase of that. However, with guide dogs, there is none. It is all on the own. The guide dog school is responsible for going out and drumming up their own donations, which is unfortunate. But right now, that's the way it is.
And that, when people or organisations survive on donations, when things happen like COVID or there's like a little recession hits, the first thing that happens is that people stop donating because they just can't afford it. And when that happens, unfortunately, it affects those people who rely on those donations, like getting a guide dog or navigational aid. So we're pretty lucky here in Australia to have the NDIS. It's only really new, so there's a lot of problems with it still, teething problems, but it's good.
Yeah, and it's sad because during COVID, a lot of the schools, the guide dog schools, they had to temporarily close. So you have dogs that are ready to go that are put on hold. The whole training program gets put on hold, and then by the time classes resume, dogs that were ready to go a year ago aren't quite ready to go now because they've had minimal maintenance training over the last year to keep their skills up to par. So yeah, it's a big problem when you end up having a huge backlog of blind or visually impaired people who want to get dogs, but there's a massive wait list now because there aren't as many dogs available that were available pre-COVID.
So Canada doesn't have their own guide dog facilities, like
They do. I got my first dog from the US. He was a great dog, and I decided to not tempt fate and just I've gone to the same school every time I've gotten a dog. The guide dog schools here are good, no doubt about that. However, they are not as well funded as the schools in the US. So um, I chose to go to a US school based on it was in California, and I'd never been to California, so I went to California. And I'd heard a lot of good things about that school as well. And that's the school I wanted to go to.
So when you went to the school in the US from Canada, did they pay for the accommodation and meals and stuff like that, or did you
Yeah,
have to
they paid for everything, which is insane. Travel. They have a dormitory there, so you stay in a dormitory. The food is top of the line. Everything is covered. Absolutely everything. Which
Oh, that's
is
fantastic.
yeah, yeah. They're, as I said, the U.S. schools are very well funded. The other thing about the guide dog school that I chose, that I really uh, like, is they have an after graduate program. So once you graduate with your dog, there's a whole department that is there for you in case you have any questions, if you have any dog behavioral issues you need help with. They have a reimbursement program for you. So every year, each graduate gets up to $200, I think it is, in money back to cover costs for like your annual vet exam, things like that. So
Okay.
really good
Yeah.
aftercare as well.
So do you use any other navigational aids besides the guide dog?
I use GPS on my iPhone. So if I want to find say I want to find a store, or I want to go somewhere where I'm not super familiar with, I will look up the address on my iPhone's GPS, and I will just use the navigational prompts, and I will follow them as best I can, and we usually end up where we want to. Yeah. So
Oh,
that's actually a great way to work on trusting your dog. Is working them in an area that you're not familiar with. Um, so it's a great bonding exercise.
right. So is there a specific app that you use?
Um, I just use Google Maps. Um, you can get basically turn by turn directions, and um, Siri will speak the directions. So as long as you follow them, you'll usually end up in the vicinity of where you want to get to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so how much trouble do you have with other dogs attacking your guide dog while you're using it?
I've never had an issue where my dog has been actually attacked. I'm pretty vigilant when I'm out with him. If I hear a dog up ahead that I feel could be a potential problem, I will typically cross the road and carry on my way, or I will just pull off on to the side, uh, put myself between my dog and the other dog, and wait until the other dog goes by. Yeah, knock on wood, I have never had an actual dog attack.
Well, when I had mine, like there was numerous times that my
Oh
dog was
wow.
attacked, and a couple of times I got in between my dog and the other dog's bit me on the leg. And people just stand around and watch,
Yeah.
uh,
Yes.
and have a great laugh at your expense. But it's a real problem. I know here in Australia, where I live, other guide dog users, it's a real problem with other dogs. It makes the guide dog become dog shy. They don't trust other dogs.
Right.
And when they spot another dog, they keep their eye on the dog, not
Not on
where
what they're
the
doing.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I can definitely see that being a problem, and I know people here who have had issues with other dogs as well, but luckily so far I have not.
oh, that's good. So what are how are the guide dogs accepted in Canada? Can you go wherever you want to go?
For the most part, yeah, I can take my dog anywhere, and 9 times out of 10, I have no issue. And even if I do have an issue, it's quickly resolved when I tell the individual that by law they have to accept that I have a guide dog. The issue that I do have is with Uber. I have had a lot of problems with Uber. Just their drivers not transporting me because I have a guide dog, or canceling when they find out I have a guide dog. I actually have a legal dispute with Uber going on right now. So I can't really talk about it. However, yeah, that aside, any actual establishment that I've gone to, I have very rarely had any issue.
Okay, yeah, because here in Australia, um, I think I've only been told once I couldn't take my guide dog, and that was up in one section of the hospital to see someone up at the hospital. I was in the surgical ward, I think it was. But other than that, my dog can go. Well, he could go wherever he wanted, but well, good on you for standing up for your rights with Uber. I know you can't talk about it, but the more people do it, take legal action or stand up for themselves, it makes it easier for others in the long term.
Yeah, and like it got to the point where I was just like sick and tired of it. And it is a bit of a process to get the legal ball rolling, but once it is rolling, it's definitely worth the aggro, I guess. So yeah, it's ongoing right now. So I'm hoping to have a positive outcome. We'll see.
Well, I hope you do.
Thanks.
I hope everything works out, and I find that appalling that you're not picked up because you use a guide dog.
Yep.
A lot of people are unaware that besides being highly trained, they're clean dogs. That you pick up after them. They're not just a pet. Like they're an actual working dog, and
Yep.
people often forget that.
Yep.
They want to come
Yep.
up and pat the dog, and you got to no
Yep.
while the harness is on. Don't
Yep.
touch him. Don't look at him. Don't acknowledge him. So how do you go with the cold weather? With the guide.
Yeah. It does get really cold here. So in winter, my dog will wear a jacket. He will wear a jacket, and he will also wear boots.
Boots. Okay.
So they put salt on the ground because of the ice, and the salt really irritates the dog's feet. So the boots just help to protect their feet.
So what are the boots? Are they just like is it they plastic or are they fur
Yeah,
lined or?
so there are many different kinds of boots. Some of them are just like hard plastics. Some of them are leather. Some of them are like a material. Basically, they range in price too. So the more expensive boots, the better they are. Yeah, they're just like little baby shoes, honestly. And yeah, so they typically, the ones I have were given to me by the guide dog school where my guys are from. They are high quality boots, and I've used them pretty much from December to usually the beginning of March. Yeah, so uh, the dogs really don't like wearing boots at all, but it does protect their feet from the ice and the salt and the cold. So
Yeah, well,
with
I would never have guessed that the salt would have affected the dog's feet like that. That's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, because it's sharp little pebbles and it just cuts into their feet. So yeah, so the boots really help.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And you're saying your brother, he just uses a long cane.
Yeah,
Do you think?
I've tried to get him to get a dog. He's not a really big dog person. So this is Rufus. I don't know if you can see him. Hi, big guy. Um, anyway, yeah, no, he's always been a cane user. I've tried to convince him to get a dog, but it's just not something I think he's interested in doing.
So, I heard you say in a previous stream that you work. Whereabouts do you work, and what do
Yeah,
you
so
do?
I work for the government of Canada. So right now we are performing research into a new HR-based system to replace the one that currently exists. So I'm on a team that's responsible for that research. So we do a lot of testing. There is a lot of moving parts, if you will, that have to come together into one centralized HR and pay program. So it's a lot of work, a lot of different departments having to come together with the same goal. So it's an ongoing process. A part of my job too is testing for accessibility to make sure that whatever is developed is done so in a way that allows blind, visually impaired, hard of hearing, or any type of disability, um, everybody can use the software. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. It's very extensive, uh, but yeah, that's what I do.
So, do you use VoiceOver or JAWS as a screen reader?
I use both. I use VoiceOver on my phone and I use JAWS on my laptop. I
So,
do
which
the. Mhm.
sorry, keep going.
Um, I primarily work on my laptop, so I use JAWS. However, sometimes if I'm not at home and I have meetings, I use my phone.
So, which do you prefer? Which do you think's better, JAWS or VoiceOver?
It depends what I'm doing. If I'm like writing a document or an email, I prefer my computer just because it's faster. However, if I'm in like a meeting, I definitely prefer my phone because I don't always have to be at my computer. I can be walking a dog at the same time.
Yeah.
So I prefer my iPhone for stuff like that. But I probably spend 80% of my workday on my computer.
Okay. I originally started off with JAWS,
Okay.
and I couldn't afford the upgrades every year, so
Yeah, so
I,
expensive.
I moved over to the MacBook because the upgrades were free.
Mm.
It's a huge learning curve. I've had it for quite a few years. I'm still learning. Not that competent on the MacBook, but I'm getting there. So you said your brother's blind. Was he blind from birth as well, or?
Yeah, yeah. So we both have the same level of vision. Very bad. Yeah, and he was also borderline as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I lost my sight in '98. I contracted MS in '92, and the
Right.
MS attacked the optic nerves and destroyed them.
Hmm.
So I have no light perception whatsoever. It's just total darkness, blackness. And I struggle. I've been blind since '98, so I still struggle day to day, walking into things, hurt myself all the time. Um, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. When you, like you said before, when you have no depth perception and you're not where you think you are,
Yeah.
um, you walk into things or you get disorientated, and it takes a while for you to reorientate.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people think you have a intellectual disability, and come on up and start talking really loudly and really slowly.
Yep. I've had that happen as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've had that happen too. Yeah, I've had that happen where like people they come up and they're like super loud and like I'll say to
yeah. I
them,
had
I'm blind, I'm not deaf. I hear you just fine. You don't have to yell at me. Like I'm right here. Yeah, I've had
yeah.
that happen
So,
too.
what do you think's the hardest part in having a guide dog for you? Um,
um, I'm a real dog person, so I don't view. So, for example, my brother is not. So he views having a dog as an inconvenience. You have to take the dog out. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to buy the dog food. They have to go to the vet. You have to get them there. Like I don't view any of that as an inconvenience. If I had to figure out the hardest thing about a guide dog, about owning a guide dog, hmm.
well, it could be just environmental impact from other people, or man-made objects, or you for me, when I had my guide dog, I think the hardest thing for me was to explain that my guide dog wasn't my best friend. He was an extension of myself. Um, and I found that the attitude from people who just assumed what guide dogs can and can't do was the hardest thing for me, because I think you just hold on to the harness and say, all right, dog, take me to, you know, such and
Yeah.
such place up at this cash register, and they just walk you there. But that's not realistic, because you have to know where you are all the
Yes.
time, even with the guide dog.
Yeah. I guess I would say the hardest thing is being denied access, and so like I have had that. As I mentioned, I've had that with Uber a lot, and so um, with my first guide dog, we spent some time in the Bahamas. So this is going back like 20 years ago, and they have no laws in the Bahamas to protect guide dog users or guide dogs, period. So I was often refused access to places when I was there, and because there's no law, there's nothing you can do about it. So that was tough. Um, so yeah, I would say just being denied access to basic places, or just basic transportation would be, for me, would be the toughest part of having a guide dog because it is embarrassing and it's annoying, and like I generally get really agitated when that happens because it's illegal for
And you
people
shouldn't
to
have
do
to
that.
justify yourself all the
No,
time either.
exactly. And sometimes you get tired of having to do that. Um, I would say that's the toughest part for me.
Yeah. So are the laws in Canada pretty much the same as in the US regarding guide dogs
Yeah,
and
yeah, they're pretty good. Um, so basically, in public, your dog has to have some sort of visible um, service dog related gear. So, like, obviously, the most recognizable is the harness. So, in public, your dog has to have a harness. Um, Typically, uh, like a business owner or like anybody can't ask you to prove that your dog is a guide dog, um, which is causing a lot of problems because now anybody and everybody is passing their pets off as service animals. So that's
uh,
another issue, the whole like fake service dog industry. So
that's
so
one. Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves is people
yeah,
passing off
yeah,
um, untrained, unqualified
yeah,
pets as service dogs, and
yeah.
um, I don't like asking, personal questions, but how do we discern, whether it's a service dog or just a pet? Um, do we have a registry for each type of service dog on its own, you know, like a vest that they wear or something like that? What do you think would be the answer to that?
I have no problem carrying around proof of training. So we are given little cards that have our guide dog's name and the school where they graduated from and a photo of the dog as well. So like I have no problem showing somebody that card, like if they want proof that Neeson is an actual guide dog. I don't think it's a big deal to ask for proof that your dog is an actual legitimate uh, service dog. The problem is a lot of people are trying to self-train their own dogs, and they're doing a really bad job because they have no clue what the hell they're doing. They take the dog out in public, and the dog acts like a pet dog because that's what pet dogs do in public. They act like pet dogs, right? So, um, but typically, if your dog comes from a registered organization, they have some type of accreditation, whether it be a specific harness or a vest or like something like that. But now you can even buy vests online. So
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is. Like I really don't know, but it's out of control. I know
yeah.
that.
I think, um, like you said, to have a vest or like a registration card may be the answer. But it is a pet peeve of mine. I know there's people
Mhm.
around here say they have a service dog, and it's just a bloody pet.
Yeah.
And they sit there, they bark, and they attack other service dogs, and distract them from what they're doing, and it's dangerous for other
It
people.
is very dangerous. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it is dangerous.
so
I don't know if it's like this in Australia, but so recently, airlines in North America banned emotional support dogs. So what people were doing were so they would bring their pet dogs with them, claiming that they were their quote unquote emotional support dogs. So there is no such thing as a registered emotional support dog. So finally, airlines caught on to what was happening. So now you cannot bring your emotional support dog on a plane.
which is just a pet. And we
Yeah,
all know it's a pet. It's like you
everybody
said,
knows it's a pet. Everybody knows what's going on. Totally, 100%. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Some people don't like speaking up, others
no,
do. But
yeah,
yeah, it's So you said this is your third guide dog. So
yeah.
the other two, here in Australia, when the guide dogs are retired, they're taken away from the handler, and they're given to another family as a pet.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same in Canada?
Um, ideally, so typically when your dog retires, you have the first option. So either you can keep them as a pet, or if somebody in your family can take the dog, or if you have a trusted friend, you can give the dog to them. If that's not a viable option, the guide dog school will take the dog back and place it with a foster family. So typically, if that happens, they first offer the dog back to the foster family who raised it as a puppy, um, which is nice. Um, and if that doesn't work out, they have lists of individuals who would love to adopt a retired dog. So either way, they always find a good home.
Yeah, well, that's here in Australia. As far as I know, may have changed in the last couple of years. Once the dog retired, it couldn't stay with the handler because if they got another guide dog, then they
Right.
would be like competing over who gets to work with the individual. So they tend to remove the dog to like you said, to a foster family, which could be a family friend or a family member or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, um, so with guide dogs in Canada, we spoke about the cold, and other, like other dog attacks. What other sort of things do you have to be aware of in your country as far as the safety of you and your guide dog?
Um, just just making sure that your dog is healthy. You know, like he has his vaccines, he's up to date on those. Heat. So in the summer, it can get really, really hot here. So typically, at the peak of the summer heat, I won't work Neeson that often, just because he gets very, very hot. So just just looking out for things like that. Um, that aside, there's probably nothing else that's really uh, an issue as far as like safety goes. Obviously, you need to be able to read your traffic when um, out in public, but that's like everywhere, um, anywhere.
Well, that leads into another question I had for you. How do
Mhm.
you go with electric cars? I always have trouble picking
Yeah,
them up.
so like some of the new ones have noisemakers now, which does help, but ideally, yeah, like the electric cars aren't ideal, obviously, because they're really quiet. So I just typically make sure to always go with my parallel traffic, because I know if a car is passing parallel, then an electric car, even if there is one there at my perpendicular, he's not moving. So I just really listen hard. And also the dogs are trained in intelligent disobedience. So if you give them a command that they don't feel is necessarily safe, they will disobey. So there's that as well.
Yep.
But that's not a command that you can really practice that often. So I don't know how much of that they actually retain. And I don't really want to practice that in
Yeah.
traffic. So yeah. So I just listen really hard, I guess.
Yeah, so here in Australia, we have audio signals at traffic lights.
Some do here too, not all.
We have them at every one.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And if
good.
you hold your hand on the just below the button, you can feel it vibrating, and when it
Yeah.
beats fast, it means you can cross. But
Okay.
Billie Eilish, she was here in Australia a couple of years ago, and she was with her mother, and she walked up to a traffic light, and it started beeping, and she, oh, what the hell's that? And she didn't know what it was. But if you
Right.
go onto YouTube and type in pedestrian crosswalk or something like that, and Billie Eilish, she tells the story of
Oh.
how she adopted that beeping noise into one of her hits
Oh,
singles.
oh wow. Whoa. Oh wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, just so we've got time one day, just
Yeah.
go onto YouTube and type Billie Eilish,
Yeah, I'll check that
pedestrian
out. Yeah.
crossing. Yeah. But
Oh,
yeah, we have them all over. Wherever there's traffic lights, there's
okay.
those audible signals.
Okay.
So the guide dogs recognise those as well here.
Okay. Yeah. Because the sound, I guess, eh?
Yeah, well, it
Making
just
noise.
starts off like a beep, 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 and when
Okay.
you're ready to cross, it just beep, 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 beep.
It gets faster. Okay.
Yeah, and a
Okay,
high
nice.
pitch. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm surprised that Canada doesn't have any, like that.
So they do on like some of their intersections, but definitely not all of them. For example, my neighborhood has them, which is great, but I'm often in a neighborhood that does not. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So here in Australia, wherever there's a traffic light, there's those
that's
signals.
great.
So
That's really good. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, we have a really active community here in Australia where we support people with disabilities and try
That's
and get them
great.
back into the community.
That's great.
Yeah. So, are you ever thinking about coming out to Australia one day, or?
I've actually been numerous times. I've
Oh,
been
have you?
to yeah. So I used to compete in triathlon. So obviously, triathlon's huge in Australia. And I ran track as well. I've represented Canada in track and field. So I've been to Gold Coast before. I've been to New South Wales, Tasmania. I have been to Sydney as well. So love it.
Okay.
Love it. Love it. If I could live anywhere in the world, I would live in Australia.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good place.
Yeah, I love it.
In some areas we're really progressive. In other areas we're sort of
Not
doing
so much.
catch up, especially with the audio description stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think we spoke about it just before we went live about the audio description. Yeah, so you do the triathlon, all that sort of stuff. So you're pretty fit. Do you run with the dog?
He's not a runner. He's more of a sniffer. Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah,
not so
yeah.
much. Not so much.
Yeah, we had a bloke out here used to run with his dog,
Okay.
and I think it was distance running. But yeah, so that's what I thought you might have ran with your dogs. So when you run, so do you have someone sighted
I have a guide
beside
to
you?
the room.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I have a guide
Okay.
who I run with. It's just we use like a tether. Um, my wrist, his wrist.
Yep.
And away we go. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, great. And you're about to be a first-time father soon?
Yeah, we're excited. Yeah, we're just over halfway now. So yeah, it'll be number one. We're very excited. Can't wait.
Ah,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah,
It's a huge learning curve. Like I said, my youngest, she was born after I lost my sight. So, I had to be taught how to change the nappies and clean them up and, get them all dressed again and bath them, all that sort of thing. It's a huge learning curve, especially when they start to crawl around.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that
yeah.
they're so quiet. That's why you've got to put bells on them to
So
make
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And so my fiance is actually sighted, so I'm having to like explain all of this to her because like it's not something that she would ever think about, obviously, right? So um,
Yep.
it's gonna be a learning curve for both of us, but uh, we're both like really excited and ready and can't wait. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, no,
thank you.
it's
Yeah,
yeah, congratulations.
thanks.
You got a lot to look forward to, lots of
Hmm.
rewards,
Yeah,
especially all the hugs and kisses that you'll get.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
know
yeah.
my youngest, she used to crawl all over my guide dog. Right? She just crawled over his back and laid on top of him and,
Yeah.
get him in the headlock and try and drag
Yep.
him along.
Yep.
It was great.
Pull the tail, pull the
Yeah.
ears. Yeah. Yeah.
He just sat there and took it all.
They take it. Yeah. Yeah. It's like they know, eh? Like the dogs know. Like they're very gentle.
Yeah, the labs
Yeah.
are great temperament,
They
big
are.
eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I had my guide dog, he's about 45 kilos,
Okay. Okay.
so he's quite a big lab.
Yeah.
Um, it was hard to control his weight because every time he see food, he'd jump towards it. A couple of times
Yeah.
I walked along and he snatched something out of my hand while I was walking. I thought, "Yeah, rotten little bugger." Um,
Yeah.
and each dog, they have their own personality,
They
I found.
do. They do. So my number one for me was like a grandpa dog. Uh, Number two was like he was very aloof. And number three is like the biggest baby, affectionate, um, clingy dog. Like yeah. So like they do
Yeah.
all have like their own little personalities. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, my dog, when he'd love to go out for walks, so we used to go out walking every day, but um, I forgot my wallet one day, so I turned around to go back home, and now I gave him the command to go forward. He wouldn't move. I had to
He
get
didn't want to go
behind him
back.
and put my hands on his rump and push him forward. He just didn't want to go home, but yeah, they're great.
They are.
Like I said, with I had bad health at the time. I could have kept him, but he was such a brilliant dog, really smart. Um, and I thought it was just a waste to have him as a pet. So,
Mm.
I gave him back. I don't think they were too happy, but I
Mm.
just didn't want him to go to waste. I thought
Yeah.
somebody else could use him.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. You know. Uh,
Yeah. So, All right. Do you have any questions or?
Just thank you, I guess. It's always nice chatting with other people about whatever, and like, um, thank you for inviting me, and maybe I can return the favor once I figure out how to use StreamYard.
Yeah, well, StreamYard, they have shortcut keys or hotkeys that you can.
Okay.
So it is accessible. I had correspondence with StreamYard, and the only part that wasn't accessible was bringing people up from the basement,
Okay.
and that's been rectified very recently. So, as far as I know or I'm aware, it's all accessible. You just got to watch out for inappropriate
Right.
people coming up showing pictures because you can lose your channel. People have lost their channel over it.
Yeah, I don't want that.
So,
Yeah.
but you've done a couple of live streams
Yep.
through YouTube. You've done really well doing that.
Yeah, hey, no, Rufus, no. Yeah, it's really easy to use. I just use my webcam, like same as this. But I do want to begin doing interviews, and then StreamYard is like the number one, like streaming site for stuff like that. So I do want to learn how to use it. So yeah, I gotta get on that.
I think, from what I've seen, you're more than capable of using StreamYard on your own. That's, I have no, I think you'd be perfectly fine. I don't think you have any problems with it whatsoever, using it on your own. Like I said, I've seen you go live a few times. I go to chat panels, mainly in the US, but other countries as well. And I find it really hard to read chat. Where the people can type in a chat and type in the
Okay.
chat. Yeah, because if they have a lot of people, it flicks through so quick. I can't keep
Yeah.
track. I just give up and just
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah. So like you can use slow mo, which slows it down. I don't know how to do that, but that does help. But yeah, you're right. It goes like so quickly. Hi, Rufus. Hi, buddy.
And the
Yeah.
voiceover too, it overrides the person talking, so you
Yes.
can't actually hear the person talk.
Yeah.
So
it's not ideal, but so I definitely want to learn how to use StreamYard.
yeah, well, email them and they'll send you the list of all the shortcut keys.
I'll do that.
It's really good. Hi, John. This is Chris. Just jumping there for a second.
Hey.
There's something else that we've used before, which is doing interviews with Zoom. You can set those to record. So
yes, I've done that.
Streaming is obviously better for a number of reasons, because then people can join the conversation if they like. But that's another. It seems to be very accessible for an experience with working with Zoom. So.
Yeah, I have done that. I haven't done that over YouTube at all, but I have had interviews over Zoom, and I have recorded them, and so like I do know how to do that. So that is an option.
Yeah, it's good. It's a matter of having all the right channels and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And we had before with we went through StreamYard and Facebook dropped us off. It seems to be working this time.
Okay.
There's always technical issues. It's
right.
It's just the nature of technology, right?
Yeah, it's look, John, I've been sub to you for a while and been to a couple of your live chats. I think you'll be more than capable of carrying out interviews and using StreamYard. So I think you'd be pretty safe there.
Thanks. Yeah, like I usually figure things out like pretty quickly, so like I don't imagine I'd have any major problem, and if I did, I can just ask either you or them.
Yeah, that's one thing I did want to ask you too, because I'm 58, nearly 59. Before I got sick, before I ended up with disabilities, I was like, 186 centimeters tall and 110, 115 kilos. So knew how to handle myself. But nowadays, I'm finding myself when there's young blokes walking behind me, I slow right down until they pass. And I've very recently taken up self-defense because I've been feeling really vulnerable lately. Is that an issue over there in Canada, with people with disabilities feeling vulnerable and wanting to take self-defense courses?
Not that I know of. That said, I imagine there are people who feel that way. I do know of at least one class that is specifically offered at a community center near to where I live that is specifically for people with various types of disability. But I don't know if like, I think it's more of an individual basis. I don't
Yeah.
think it's like I can't answer that because I don't really know.
Yeah. No, fair enough. It's just like I said, it's an individual thing, but
Mhm.
when you get older and you start slowing down, and young people these days, they don't seem to fear as much anymore. Yeah, as far as the law is concerned.
Yeah, no, the world is definitely a different place than it was like 10, 20 years ago. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you should have a look into the NDIS that we have here in Australia. It's a brilliant, brilliant program.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
I'm curious about it. Yeah.
yeah. So it helps anyone with a disability get back into the community and build life skills, provide support workers. It's a brilliant, brilliant thing. There's a few teething problems, but
Mhm.
with such an intricate and personalised services as helping people with disabilities. Because I know, like Canada basically is a colony, or some part of it's a colony of the UK and the French. So do you have national health care over there?
We do,
Yep.
which is great.
Yeah, we have that here, and that's what
Nice.
the NDIS is built on. So the Medicare rebate, I think, was around, everyone pays into the Medicare around it's 1 point something percent of their income,
Okay.
and that was expanded a little bit to cover the NDIS, but it's a brilliant, brilliant idea. And I hope other countries like Canada adopt something like that. It's helped a lot of people out.
Okay. Yeah, like it's definitely nice to have that here. Like, national healthcare is like that's amazing. Like there are countries who don't have that. So like I can't imagine not having that. That's yeah.
Yeah, because like I've got my phone through the NDIS.
Mm.
They said I couldn't have it because it was an everyday item, and I said, "Well, no, it's not. It's a multi-purpose tool for me."
Hmm.
I've got about 4 pages of apps on the phone that I use regularly,
Okay.
uh, um, and things like computers that they'll help support navigational device, GPS devices.
TBS. Yeah.
Yeah, canes, the white canes, all that sort of
Okay.
guide dogs, all that sort of stuff. So it's a
Yeah.
great,
Wow.
great thing. Have a look into it.
I will. Yeah,
Yeah,
because we don't have that here. Like if you want an iPhone, you have to buy an iPhone. You know,
yeah,
or like if you want if you want Jaws, look, Jaws is very expensive. Like it's funny because like the blind demographic is typically one of the poorer demographics. Yet some of the technology out there aimed at blind people is very, very expensive. So
So, how many people in Canada are either blind or vision impaired to where they need support?
no clue. I can't
No
answer
clue.
that. No, I have no idea. I have no idea.
So,
Um,
what is the population of Canada? About 20, 25
I
million?
don't know that either. I
Okay.
could lie to you and make up a number, but honestly, like, yeah, no, I have no clue. Yeah,
Yeah, because I
Google is
read
your
a
friend.
report. Yeah. Well, I read a report back in the early 2000s, estimating here in Australia by 2025 there'll be 750,000 people who are either blind
Oh wow,
or to have or have a moderate to severe vision impairment
vision
where they
impairment.
need
Okay,
assistance.
wow.
So,
Okay, yeah,
and that's a population of 26 million. So,
right.
yeah, it's a significant amount. And a lot of those people too are elderly with glaucoma and macular degeneration and
Right,
RP and stuff like that. So
right.
the older populations seem to be, as they get older, they develop different
Just more
disabilities.
prone. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just like I said, more prone to it because of their age.
Mm, yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah. It's like we definitely have a lot. I just don't exactly know.
yeah, because when I was looking into it, because I actually took my local council to the Australian Human Rights Commission.
Okay.
Because they had A-frame signs and display tables and pot plants up against the shoreline,
Ugh, of course.
and I asked them to move them, and they said no, and yeah, ended up like a 10-year battle,
Yep.
which
Yep.
I ended up winning.
Congrats. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. But when I was first looking into it, I went to the World Health Organization, and there's over 330 million people worldwide are either blind or have a moderate to severe vision impairment. So a third of a billion people around the
Yep.
world.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah,
So
no,
that's a lot, and that's only going to increase with the aging population as well.
Yep. 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 Yeah. No,
So,
that's that's one of the negative things about getting old is the body begins to let you down. You know?
oh, big time, take it from me. I'm getting old. That's what my youngest calls me, is old man. Old man.
Oh, that's all good.
But yeah, no,
All good.
my kids are good. But all right, well, might end it there. Is anyone in chat that may want to ask a question, Chris? Or
No, we
no?
don't have. I'm just looking through the other channels at the moment. It doesn't look like there's anyone else there, so I think we're
Okay.
pretty good to wind it up at the moment.
All right, we might end it there. Thanks for coming along. I really appreciate
Thank you
it.
for the invite. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
everybody wants to go check out your channel, it's Blind Men Walking. Good channel, good content. A lot of explanatory videos in there. It's really good. So thanks, John. I appreciate your time.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. I guess it's morning over there, right?
Yeah, it's mid morning on
Mid-morning, okay.
Wednesday morning.
Nice. Okay.
Only another week or so, and we're in summer.
No. Oh, We're almost in winter right here, so
Yeah,
enjoy your summer. Oh man, I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
that's one thing I always wanted to have was a white Christmas, but
Yeah, we definitely have that every year. So I can't
Yeah.
complain about that. But it's cold and white, very
Yeah.
cold. So
yeah. But all right. Well, thanks for coming, John. I really appreciate your time, and I'll
yeah,
talk to you when you go live next time.
sounds good.
It's awesome. It's been good to meet you.
You too. Thanks, guys.
Okay. See you, mate.
Thank you. Bye.
Adios.